Hey, this is Matthew with Another World Terraria. Welcome to part 1 of my tutorial series on how to make a bioactive grow bin. In this video, I'm going to show you some examples of bioactive grow bins while I explain what they are and what the benefits are. Then we'll move into step 1, which is selecting a bin and creating the holes for the ventilation. A bioactive grow bin is essentially a plastic tub that you grow tropical plants in a mini ecosystem. The key is that you're growing plants in a shared substrate as opposed to individually in pots, and that you add other elements into the environment such as leaf litter and beneficial insects. I've found that this results in healthier plant growth, fewer problems with fungus, and also has a number of other benefits. The benefits of bioactive grow bins as opposed to individual pots, glass aquarium tanks, and so forth is that bioactive grow bins are cheaper, they're portable, they're modular, they're faster and easier to set up, it's a more efficient use of space, plants can grow bigger and for a longer time without repotting, and microfauna can be introduced throughout the system, resulting in healthier plants and environment. I also think it looks nice, kind of like a little terrarium, and I enjoy seeing the microfauna crawling around in there. The first element of the bioactive grow bin is the actual plastic tub itself. Here's a few tips for choosing the right bin. The size and shape of the bins that you pick is going to depend on a number of factors. You're going to want to consider your grow space layout, size, and type of lighting. You're going to want to think about what kind of plants you're going to be growing. For example, how large or tall do the plants get? What is their growth habit? How fast do they grow? And so on. You're going to want to consider how often you get new plants from new sources, because if you want to quarantine your plants, which I highly recommend you do, then it's better to have many small bins than a few large ones. The reason is because the smaller bins that you can quarantine new plants separately and fit multiple in the same space, but if you have large bins and wanted to quarantine things, then it would take up an inordinate amount of space because you'd have many large bins with just a few plants in each bin. I recommend bins with clear lids, not colored lids. This lets the most light through, avoids modifying the spectrum and color of the light reaching the plants, and also allows you to easily see into the container. Sometimes I use bins with white lids, but it significantly reduces light levels and you can't see through, so you have to remove the lid to check on things. Alright, so the next step is we're going to drill some ventilation holes. Before you drill the holes for the ventilation, there's a couple considerations that you're going to take into account. The first thing is that the number of holes, the size of holes, and the position of the holes are going to be determined by factors such as the size of the bin, the type of the plants that you're going to be putting in the bin, and their humidity preferences, and what substrate and moisture level you're going to have in the bin, and so forth. So basically, if you have a plant that likes to be a lot more humid, then you're going to want to have smaller ventilation holes and fewer of them to ensure that the humidity stays higher. If you have a plant that's going to prefer a bit more airflow and not quite as high of humidity, then you're going to want to drill perhaps more holes and perhaps larger holes. There's not any exact science to positioning the holes or determining how many or what sizes to drill. It's more of an experimental type of thing, so I'd recommend trying different layouts and patterns and so forth and seeing what works. Now I have two different types of drill bits. I'm going to show you those right now. This right here is called a step bit. The depth that you drill into the material is going to determine the diameter of the hole. So the deeper that you go, the bigger the hole is going to be. This right here is a hole saw bit. This one that I have, the teeth are designed to drill through wood, not plastic. So there are a couple of tips that I'm going to give you for drilling through the plastic with this type of bit. Alright, first let's drill the hole with the hole saw. So I've got that in. I would recommend having a high quality drill that's going to be a lot more powerful. The cheaper ones are a little bit weaker and aren't going to give you the power and speed that you need to get through the plastic very easily. So I've got this nice drill here, and what I'm going to do is position the hole. I'm just going to go right about here. Now the trick to this type of bit, again I mentioned that this is made for wood, not plastic. These teeth will crack and shatter this plastic if you're not careful. The way I do it is first I go in forward like the bit would normally be drilling clockwise, and then I get kind of a groove going in it into the plastic. Then I reverse the direction and I drill the rest of the way through in reverse, thereby eliminating the chance that the teeth are going to snag on the plastic and shatter the whole thing. So let's go ahead and go into it. I find that a medium to fast speed works best, and on the reverse pattern I tend to kind of rock the drill around. So let's just give it a shot. Let me make sure I'm in forward motion. Going to position this here, drill through. First the pilot bit will go through, which is the center bit. Okay, so there's that groove there. Now I'm going to flip it in reverse to avoid shattering the plastic. And then I'm going to rock it. There we go. Here I've just got this little knife. You can just go around in here. Doesn't have to be perfect. You just want to make sure it's clean enough that when you insert the screen ventilation thing, that it'll fit in there good. Okay, now I'm going to drill the smaller ventilation hole with the step bit. And with this one, as I mentioned, you can kind of note which one of the tiers is at the diameter that you want. And this one is best to go slow and pull the bit out every so often and pull out some of the plastic. Alright, so I'm going to drill this right here. I'm going to make sure and consider that there's going to be some sphagnum moss or some substrate in here. So I want to make sure that I don't drill this all the way at the bottom. You want to go above that a little bit. So I'm just going to go right about here. Go through. And I like to do this in kind of like bursts like that. And you just pull this out. Yep, there it is. That should be good. In part 2 of the tutorial series, you'll learn what kind of ventilation screens to use and how to install them.